We're the United States of America. Unity and oneness is what we're made of. One nation under God, it's plain to see. We're showing the whole world what a country should be. United we stand in America, hand in hand in America. Together as one in a land that we love. United we stand in America.
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. It is Wednesday, December the 3rd. My gosh, Christmas is getting closer and closer. So we are live at the Axe Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. This is show number 263. 263 times we've been blessed to be able to bring a show to you all. This is going to be an interesting show. We've never done a show like this before. Basically, I'm going to explain it real quick, I'm going to talk about a key word. This country is so divided, and honestly, it's not a good thing. And we've got good conservative people, we've got good liberal people, we've got good independent people. We have people that don't know what they are, and some people don't even care what they are. That's sad. And then we have people that want to be socialists and destroy our country and what our country's built on. We have all this stuff going on. And we have next year a very, very important race. Everybody always talks about, well, this is the most important presidential election. This is the most important race. This election is the most important. Well, let me tell you what, every one of them are important. But as we go on in time, whether we're going to exist as a democracy, we're going to admit as a republic, we're going to have capitalism as our cornerstone. If we're going to have all those things, we've got to start having some elections that have some results and help save our country. And so, Dr. Mary Byrne, how are you doing today?
Well, good morning, Lynn, and I'm doing well.
Well, I tell you
it's
what,
good to be back.
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back. And so here's how we're going to do this. I'm Lynn Morris, and here's how we're going to do this. I'm excited. I'm going to introduce our guest. You can't see him, and that's too bad because he's a very good-looking young man, very smart man, and we'll talk to him in just a second. But here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to say a key word. And with the midterms next year, I want to know from a young person's perspective, and that's Chandler Haynes. Chandler, how are you doing?
Lynn, I'm doing fantastic. Good to join you guys, at least in spirit. So,
Well, I know you had a little
like,
card.
I'm like the spirit of Christmas,
Okay.
I'm always with you. You can't see me, but I'm there.
Okay. Well, hey, good. Well, thanks to Dennis, our producer, and he's a volunteer just like all of us. We're just always volunteers for Christ and for Acts Ministry. But thank goodness we were able to get you on at the very last minute because you had a little car trouble, and so we couldn't get you here. But we got you on because I want to know what you're thinking. So here's what we're going to do. Dr. Mary Byrne, she represents the middle-aged people. She's young. She's not old like me. I'm the prehistoric guy. So I may break a tie every once in a while, but I have a feeling that you guys are going to be close together, but you're different age groups. And that's what our country's all about. We got young people, we've got middle-aged people, we've got older folks. We've got all these different ages, and somehow we have to blend all those people to make sure that we have the country that we all want to live in. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the economy first. I think the economy is one of the most important things that people personally gauge if they feel comfortable with their home, their job, everything, expenses, they're going to be okay. So if I say affordability, Chandler, and we can't spend a whole lot of time on any one of these topics, so I'm going to talk about probably 12, 15 topics real quick. So what do you say about affordability?
Well, as it pertains as an issue to young people, it's near the top. You know, if you talk to anybody under the age of 35, I mean, you don't even have to talk to them. Just look at the data. Depending on which way you slice it, the median age of a first-time home buyer, uh, it's not 28 like it was in the 1990s. It's 48 to 61, like I said, depending on how you slice the data. Home prices to starting jobs are 1 to 7 times offset, when 30 years ago it was 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. That meant the price of your first home was probably roughly 3 times or 5 times what you were making. Now it's astronomically more than that. And I heard someone say that things are cheap in America, but life is expensive, and that is just completely true. We've seen a freezing of wages, a freezing of hiring, the kind of general devaluation of the college degree, and the massive importation of workers and employees from all around the world have left people in the kind of younger bracket sort of locked out of a lot of wealth and experience that maybe the generation before them had. So when you say affordability, the first thing that comes to mind is going to be healthcare, it's going to be housing, it's going to be childcare. These are the things that if you talk to anybody in Missouri, and I would say in America, that's under the age of 35 and has kids, that's what everyone's worried about. We can't afford healthcare, we can't afford housing, or at least appropriate housing, or perhaps, better housing. And we can't afford childcare. And, as bad as public schools have got, throw education in there too. It's basically it's basically a perfect storm of the things that are truly critical for a young family are incredibly expensive.
Mhm.
Well, that's very good comments. That's very good comments. So, Dr. Mary, what do you think about affordability?
Eroding, right? And even for people my age, where
We didn't even
you
talk about
might
inflation. Shit's everywhere.
where you might think about retirement, you realize you can't, and you have to keep working at something. Some people never wanted to retire. Others wanted to help their grandchildren, by providing childcare or whatever free to their children, but they can't because they have to work and pick up the margin of inflation. So, the economics in this country that are being driven by decision makers way outside of our scope of influence is pressuring families not to have children because they can't afford it, and creating an economy based on credit and rent.
Right. No.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Let's interrupt real quick. Actually, speaking on that financing and that credit side of things, we just came out of the Black Friday season, which we all know. Personally, I have pretty strong opinions on like the kind of more nutty aspects of like rabid shopping, but whatever. There's something sort of funny about it being a tradition in America. But I saw a statistic that this Black Friday, up to 25% of all purchases were financed,
Yeah.
which is incredibly high. Now you might say to yourself, it's like, oh, what's wrong with that? You get layaway on a big TV or, some big appliances or something like that. We didn't say large purchases. We said all purchases.
Yeah.
That means everything that was purchased during the week. So when people start to turn towards credits and financing for things like food orders and grocery purchases,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even know what we're looking at because I don't think it's ever happened before.
Well, right now you're looking at a 24% interest rate on your credit cards, which is just going to spiral you further in debt. We have to figure this out.
Well, and the things that kind of hit me hard is I'm just hearing this on the news. This year we're gonna top $1 trillion in holiday spending. For the first time, this country people who say they have no money, people that are mad and they hate. I don't like the word hate, so I don't use the word hate. But a lot of people use the word hate. They hate taxes. They hate government. They hate life. They hate everything. But still, yet they find the money somewhere, whether it's cash or credit card. They find the money to spend over $1 trillion during the holiday season. That is just crazy.
Well,
That's bizarre to me.
spending is power. And you have to understand the psychological addiction to that. When you feel powerless, but you can purchase something, you feel a kind of power in that purchase. And I'll tell you, I call it the Cratchit's Christmas, but my family started that a while ago. Is that, watch the movie The Christmas Carol and see that the Cratchits just enjoyed being together over a good meal. That's all the present you need, is the presence of people.
Well, I think that's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, sometimes since our kids aren't taught the proper history and what's been going on over the last 100 years, I think that if we all understood what our forefathers did, and we just follow our own parents and grandparents and on, you would find out that that's what they did.
Making gifts.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So let's get to the next word, and we'll just very quickly, because we've talked about it a little bit with expenses, but inflation is a word that we hear all the time. We hear it all the time, and obviously it's a bad word. It's a word that is really hurting Americans today. So what do you say about inflation, Chandler?
Well, it's something that we're unfortunately
Chandler,
more or
did you
less
hear
stuck.
us? We lost Chandler?
No, he's talking.
I'm still here. Can you hear me, guys? Hello. Well, my microphone is still on.
Yeah, I think. Can you hear him now?
No.
Yeah, I'm speaking just fine.
Here, that one. No. Should be. Are you still there, Channel? That's it.
Yeah, I'm still here.
You hear him?
No.
I'm talking into.
Okay, I guess I got to do it on that one. Yeah. Sorry. Oh. Yep. Ask him stuff. He can't hear me.
Hey, Chandler, so we're not hearing you. You don't have to repeat it, because as long as the listeners heard it, we're fine. I just need to know when he's done, and you need to try to figure out how we can hear him as we go on.
That should
There
work
he is.
fine.
Okay.
I swear I didn't touch anything. I promise. I know not to push buttons.
That's
But
fine.
no,
So
you're saying inflation is something that we're sort of stuck with. The Biden administration spent more money in one term than the cumulative first 38 presidents of the United States combined. So we're going to be dealing with and reeling from those problems for a while. You also fundamentally have a problem in the Congress where that, yes, there has been some good progress on certain issues on the federal level. Immigration, foreign policy, foreign trade, things like that. But left and right, we still have an addiction to big spending. And that's going to lead us to big problems. So it's kind of funny to go back in time and talk about the debt, as kind of like a regular talking point. But that's going to be something that we're stuck with. And I wish that we weren't in a position where we'd spent so much that now our currency was being deflated. Its position as the default dollar of the world has been threatened. And I think that's, probably going to be not good for the American consumer in some ways. But if we're prudent and can stay out of war, I think we can manage this situation.
good, very good. So, Dr. Mary, what do you think? Inflation, just very quickly, what comes to your mind?
I keep thinking of the 1930s, in the Depression era, and people getting through that. It's doable. It's not pleasant. But that was the greatest generation. It really was. It wasn't just World War II. It was the whole country coming together. I truly think, I mean, it's just my personal opinion, but inflation is controllable, but not by the individual. It is controllable from the top, the people pulling the levers on the economy. Um, we need a political system, and Trump is at the helm trying to lead that system into controlling inflation so that again, the stress on the people, on society, are relieved. But it is like Chandler said, it will take time.
Well, I think inflation, one of the things interesting and interest rates is thinking about. I've heard several times that if we could just reduce our interest rate 1%, we could cut off $1 trillion worth of debt.
So, are we talking about Jerome Powell?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just talking about there's things that we can do in this country. It's not like it's over. So we've got to do those things and kind of right the ship. Okay.
Because Powell will be gone in May.
Yeah. So
which will be a good thing.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about interest rates. We talked about inflation. Let's just kind of go a broad spectrum, and then we'll move to another subject. So we talked a little bit about costs of maybe health insurance, hospitalization, medications. I know what costs of medicines are now compared to when I first opened my first pharmacy in 1977. Things were less than $10 was an average cost of prescription. Today, the average cost of prescription is over $50 because we have some that are thousands of dollars. I have shots in both of my eyes every 4 months, and unfortunately, because of that medicine, I have 2 eyes, so I have to have 2 shots, one in each eye, and I'm spending $8,000 for these shots in my eye. So that brings that average cost up, and you've got such expensive medications today. But let's talk about house insurance, homeowners insurance, car insurance, all these insurances and utilities. Let's lump all those together. How does that affect a young person? Chandler, did you hear that?
Did it happen again?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're still here.
No,
this kind of goes to what I was talking about earlier, the comment I made where stuff is cheap but life is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Measuring, people will sometimes go on TV and say, like, things are great, globalism and free trade is great for America, look at all the cheap consumer goods we. That's true. Knickknacks and doodads are readily available, very inexpensive. Everybody has an iPhone, but nobody has health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, things are cheap, but life is expensive.
Right.
And this includes things like insurance on your home, if you can even afford one. Maybe you can. So here's the journey for a young person. You graduate maybe in the middle of COVID, college. So your degree is essentially useless because your teachers just phoned it in for all 4 of those years. It's going to happen. You're in debt too because you had to go to school to get the degree. All right, let's go see who's hiring. I got a degree in computer engineering because everyone said learn to code, technology is the future. Well, I just read in the news that Microsoft, and this happened earlier in the year, in February, that Microsoft fired 9,000 of their own employees and then replaced them with about 7,500 foreign employees. So, okay, you can't get a job in the tech sector because they're not high. You're too expensive. Okay, so you get a job that doesn't pay as much as your degree warrants. Well, now you are underpaid for the degree that you got. So you're paying off on this degree that you're not getting properly compensated for. You want to start a family. Well, who really wants to do that in an apartment, right? You need to get a house to do that. Oh, okay. Mortgages are 6.5%, 7%. If you don't have the best credit, you might not even be able to talk to somebody about getting a mortgage. Okay, you manage to find a place that you find a bank that'll give you a mortgage. Well, now you have to find a house that you can afford. The average house price has gone up like 470% from 2019. There's houses that whenever I was looking at them in 2020 in Nixa that were for sale for $160,000, those same houses are for sale for $360,000 and $400,000. I mean, the inflation of house price has been ridiculous. So suppose you even find a house that you can afford the mortgage on. Now that you found a bank that will give you a loan for that house, okay, can you afford to insure it? Can you afford to pay the property taxes on it? Maybe. I mean, who knows? At this point, you're just a single person taking care of yourself and you're already strapped to the max. How on earth are you supposed to be able to pay for kids that need to go to school or something like that, or multiple vehicles? So the list goes on and on and on for expenses. And the things that I just laid out are just the things that you would wrestle with if you were a young man trying to, get out of school, make a little bit of money, get his first house purchased or something like that. And it's the math just don't math, as they say.
Very, very good. Utilities is something that I pay attention to prices. I think as we get older, we pay more attention to prices and price increases. And utilities is something, whether it's your electric bill, your natural gas bill, your water bill, your sewer water. Water used to be cheap. You pay your water bill at Nixa today. Pay your sewer bill today, and all. How about your trash bill? You have to have your trash bill every week. They pick up your trash. Thank goodness. So we got all those expenses. One last thing, I'll get to Dr. Mary. The average age of a first-time home buyer now in this country has approached 40 years of age. I know that's a scary thing for you, Chandler, because you're not even anywhere near 40 years of age. And all of us, when we graduated from either high school or college, and we had our first job, we were able to buy a house. Now, people are not going to be able to buy a house until they're age 40 or older, and you're going to be living in an apartment all those years. And guess what? Apartment rent is expensive too. Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Mary, what do you say?
And what is, you said that age is 40. And what did I say earlier? It's like, if you really want to start a family, right? If you want to be serious about having, a wife, multiple kids, something like that, you can't really do that in an apartment, or it's difficult and not optimal. That's for sure. So what does that do? If your average homeowner is 40, does that mean you're having your first kids at 41? Does that mean that you're having your children at 42? What on earth does that do to the flow of what a family used to look like?
Sure.
Right. Sure. Well, and the population of the country. But
we have to have so many kids born every year in this country, or we will not exist over time.
Yeah, and that's what's been happening in Europe is the depopulation. Let's see. So, I was going to address your energy comment, and AI is a big part of that because it costs so much to build those data centers and run them, and water
and electricity
is needed to to run that system.
Yeah, and they're also costing people jobs now.
So who's picking up the cost for that? It's not the corporations. It's the taxpayers.
The taxpayers.
Yeah, and that's why all of this is related. And the other part about the home buying, When I bought my house 30 years ago, it was half of what it's valued at now.
Sure.
But what keeps creeping up are the taxes on it.
Right.
Yeah. And you wonder, so am I getting the value for the taxes? Well, 70% of my real estate tax goes to the school district. And I think I've commented on this before. So what value am I getting for that? I'm a big education advocate, but we've been co-opted. The education system has been co-opted, and the local school district is nothing but an implementer of what happens at the state level, and the state level is taking its orders from the grant conditions of the grants issued from Washington, D.C., and that's how they centralize education. And so it's whatever ideology is got control of the White House that controls what's going on in the classroom, and that's why Trump is trying. That's why
It's
Trump is
unfortunately much worse. It's just communist bureaucrats.
absolutely, and Trump is dismantling that central node of control. So the programs will still exist; they'd still be funded in different departments. I have my issues with transferring so much to the labor department because that's not what education is for. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, we're going to do a great show on education here coming up soon
I hope
because that is, I mean, that's
my bailiwick.
that's
Yeah.
your specialty, and you're still working in the Missouri Senate for
That
that.
said, what you see is my real estate taxes, 70% of it, going to support the ideology of the Marxists in Washington, D.C. So we are looking forward to big changes there in Washington. Yes, we need 2026 to get a Congress that's going to support that agenda of dismantling the U.S. Department of Ed, because that's the only way you're going to get rid of it is through an act of Congress. I think you could do it through the Supreme Court too, but somebody has to sue and say that the Education Organization Act of 1979 was unconstitutional. Let's just work with what we've got now. Elect a Congress that will rescind that statute and move forward with restoring local control.
Yeah, very good. So let's go to the next word. This is a 5-letter word that's a bad word for a lot of people. Okay, that's taxes. We've mentioned taxes.
Yeah.
But Chandler, so I know you as a young person, you feel pinched because of taxes. I know that you probably don't like personal property taxes. Property taxes have gotten too high. And if you
So
don't-
basically, we're renting our own property from the government.
right.
That's what it boils down
Right.
to.
If you don't pay it, they'll sell it on the steps of the courthouse. And so, real quick, is there a solution about taxes, Chandler? What do you think about what do we need to do? How do we curb and slow down the growth of taxes to where people feel like it's more affordable?
Well, you take care of the top line items. You know, obviously the single greatest tax burden is the income tax on the average net taxpayer. And the problem of taxes is one of proportionality. You know, they feel so suffocating because more and more taxes as a net are paid by less and less of the population. That is one of the fundamental problems of the squeeze that you're describing, is that more and more the burden is lying solely upon a smaller and smaller group of people. The simple, you know, these are simple solutions. They're not easy solutions, but they are simple. They're hard to implement, but they are simple. You have to stop wasting our money. You know, if you've quit promising our money to everybody, and then you don't have to come getting more of it from us. You know, we've overexpanded. You know, the fundamental problem with taxes is obviously is in my opinion a federal one. You know, with the exception of with the exception of property taxes in some counties. I think that the taxing mechanisms of the state and of the localities are actually relatively, you know, reasonable, if I'm being honest, especially when compared to the burdens that are brought about by the taxes levied by the federal government. The solution is simple. The answer is easy. Quit spending our money on everything. Quit blowing our money all over the place, and then you won't feel like you have to come to us to take every single cent you can get your hands on. So you trim your expenses, then you can trim the amount of money you have to intake.
Very good. Dr. Mary, what do you think? What's your comment on taxes?
What he said.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, exactly right. One of the things I want to point out to all the people, we appreciate everyone watching today. I hope you're getting something out of it, and it's kind of creating some ideas and thinking for you all. But from the county perspective, I'm presiding commissioner down in Christian County, and I will tell you that all counties in the state of Missouri are basically about the same. And so for us in Christian County, we get 1.3% of all property taxes. So what it's been interesting is people are coming into the courthouse. My office is upstairs on the second floor. I've been sitting down on the first floor where our commission main office is. And I've been talking to people. I want to talk to everybody that comes in because they're not in a good mood. I want to listen to them. I want to listen to them and hear what they have to say. Sometimes it's not very much fun listening to them, but I need to know. But here's the thing: I have to try to educate them. Schools, and I know how important schools are, but they get 70% in Christian County, 70%. So I've been actually having them show me their tax statement. So I will tell you that right now I have over 200 tax statements that I've looked at, and I've written numbers down. And I own 3 properties in Christian County, and my average tax for Christian County government for those 3 properties is $22. $22. And I will tell you that I have seen things from $15 to $50 on Christian County government, just that piece. And the schools are usually $1,500 to $2,500, sometimes $3,000, and things like that. I'm not knocking schools. I'm just telling you the legislature did that in Missouri. We didn't have anything to do with deciding that we only need 1.3% to run our county government. And so we do have a tax problem. But I just left Lake of the Ozarks 4-day conference, and Governor Kehoe was there. And Governor Kehoe says, I'm going to be working on a income tax. I want to remove income tax in the state of Missouri. So in his first term, he just started. He's first year re-elected. He has decided that income tax in Missouri, they're going to try to figure out a way to eliminate it. So those are good things. I'd like to eliminate personal property tax too. But every time you want to eliminate something, how are you going to replace the money that all these ambulance, fire, library, senior center, blind fund, all the different things that are taxed? How do you do that? Okay, so let's go to another one. I think this is a very important issue: crime. Crime in our cities, crime in our country seems to be rampant, and especially in certain cities and certain mayors. I wouldn't even begin to want to even go to the grocery store. Who would want to go to the grocery store and have gunshots everywhere and have all these shootings and murders everywhere? So what about crime? Do young people worry about crime?
Enormously. I mean, the points that I was making earlier about affordability and the cause, it's young people that are going to be affected by this. Let's go back to my analogy, my kind of narrative about, John Smith trying to, get a job out of college to get the house started, to get the family started. Well, okay. Houses are all expensive. He sure as heck can't afford a house in the neighborhood he grew up in, where his parents lived. Those houses all cost, $600,000 and $700,000 now. He definitely can't afford that, especially not with a 6.7% or 5.7%, mortgage. That's crazy. So you got to look for, bargains, and, like it or not, the bargains are going to be in what's the term in the real estate world? Or less than desirable neighborhoods, right? Which is, just means crime ridden. And so, okay, now you found the house that you can afford, but if there's a meth dealer on your left and a yard full of pit bulls on your right, well, that's not the best environment to try to do this whole family thing we're talking about, right? Crime is something that's going to impact the people that are at the lower end of the income pool, which is going to be young people, which is going to be elderly, retired people. It's going to be vulnerable people. And the lack of seriousness that we see in a lot of our police departments, especially the municipal ones, I think brought about initially by Black Lives Matter and defund the police. But then also, Marxist ideology, once it gets into an organization, it infects it, it ruins it. It's done it to schools, it's done it to churches, it's doing it to law enforcement. So once you let that Marxism in the door, whether it's through, race Marxism, whether it's through defund the police, open society, nonsense. Once your police departments get infected with that strain of nonsense in 2020, it's just going to make things worse. So you've seen police departments get less serious, even with, here in Missouri, I believe the new mayor of St. Louis, just to bring it home, she's a Democrat, Kara Spencer, but she ran on trying to take crime seriously. Even though she's trying to take crime seriously, it's hard to put the department back together. It's been decimated for years and years and years. So crime is a huge deal. It's driven by the massive amounts of immigration that the Biden administration let in this country. You have too many people in the country, not enough places for them to go. You're putting people from wildly different cultures into, communities where they just don't assimilate and don't belong. I mean, look at that famous example of all the Haitians that were brought to not Springfield, Missouri, but Springfield, Ohio. It's bad. It is a problem. I mean, me personally, whenever my wife and I found out that we were pregnant, we lived on the southwest side of Springfield, and we were having a girl. We've now had a girl. Her name's Caroline Sue. But we had to look at each other and make the decision that, we're not happy about this, but Springfield is just not safe enough for us, in our opinion, to raise our daughter. And it's a crazy thing to do, because I grew up in Springfield. It was home. So yes, it's a problem. It has to get better. I think that state action is a great thing. Governor Kehoe has done the Operation Blue Star, I believe it is, where the state is giving out grants and trainings to, municipalities and counties that, get their act together. So things like that. We need to fund our law enforcement. We got to back the blue, because law and order and harmony and safety is, critical to making this project that we call America work.
All right. Very good. Very good comment. Dr. Mary.
Well, I think it's interesting that simultaneous with defunding the police, you see this agenda for gun control. And that's been going on for decades. But once again, you can control a society that can't defend itself. So it depends on who's controlling the thugs.
Right.
And right. And yeah, we know that there was foreign influence funding Black Lives Matter, that it wasn't new, and that the leadership of Black Lives Matter admitted that they were trained in Marxism. So this external influence, it's actually a rotting of the country from within without running tanks down our streets. And right? So we have to be we can't be stupid about compassion.
Right.
We have to recognize when we're being infiltrated,
Taken for a ride,
for our own demise. That's what that boils down to.
Very good.
The president said the other day that it's the beautiful hearts of Americans that have let us been taken advantage of. We can't do that anymore. We don't have the luxury of being very magnanimous in all things.
Part of the fear and smear campaign that operates on guilt, and so it's cause for discernment on when that guilt is being used to manipulate. That's where we've been, all right, and when guilt and shame is actually a positive thing that makes you change your behavior for the better. It was never about that.
I tend to tell people guilt is appropriate if you've done something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong by arresting criminals.
and preserving the borders of your own country. Wrong. That's right.
Precisely, yes.
Okay, let's go to the next. This is two words, sanctuary city. That's going to go into ICE and law enforcement again. Quickly, let's kind of, what do you think about sanctuary cities? How are we going to take care of those? Because it's really contradictory to trying to take care of protecting people. You're protecting people that actually have come in illegally. And while some of those people are great people, we just don't know who they are. We don't know what their vaccine record is, their health record, or anything else. But we have to let everybody know what our health record is. So what do you think about sanctuary cities? What are we going to do to help our country?
Well, it just proves what an insane time we're emerging from. That this concept that large American cities get to be conquered by communists and then declared autonomous zones free from like actually having to follow the laws of the country. Um, However you feel about it, we had a whole civil war about the question of what parts of federal law you are and are ignore. And I think pretty decisively, the decision of that war was actually the federal government gets to come in and enforce its power ultimately and supremely, especially if you're, just saying we're actually our own. Let's just say we have separated from you guys. And that's what sanctuary city means. It's this nice little flowery term that means, crime gets to run rampant here. Your federal government is not allowed to enforce your federal immigration laws. It's not absurd. It's intentional. I catch myself all the time using this language of, oh, it's just a dumb idea. It's not. It's an evil idea. It's done on purpose. These are plans. These are actions that are done intentionally with goals and ends in mind, right? Everyone from, George Soros to everyone from George Soros to Gavin Newsom understands that protecting these zones is what allows the infinite flow of illegals, because you got to have a place to go. Where are you going to go? Well, you're going to go to the sanctuary cities. And it's the further just break. The way that you fix this is you just break the cities. I mean, no one really wants to hear this be said, but the only way that you solve this, whenever you have insane communists like Michelle Wu, Brendan Johnson, and Karen Bass, that's the mayors of Boston, Chicago, and Los Angeles, respectively, saying like ICE is not welcome here. Brendan Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, ordered his police force to stand down and obstruct federal operations within the city of Chicago. That's rebellion. That's like that's an insurrection. We all remember all this talk about insurrection a couple of years ago. That's an actual insurrection. A mayor of an American city ordering his law enforcement to get in the way of federal law enforcement carrying out their duties. This only ends whenever these people are in jail and in jail for the rest of their lives.
Very good. Very good. Dr. Mary.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you mentioned Gavin Newsom because he made a sanctuary state.
Yeah, not a city.
Went outside of the cities.
Yeah.
That's right. And yes, what's very interesting to me is I studied the Broward County shooting in 2018 and found that Broward County basically declared itself a sanctuary county, and that the district was a sanctuary school district, and that they were protecting undocumented
violent illegal invaders
coming in, and their crime rate was up. Surprise, but it also gets down to, okay, so we're talking about children, but it's what Chandler brought up before. These are children who are not integrated. They were not equipped for dealing with the stresses. And some of them are just plain used for crime because they're underage. And
because they know that in America we have empathy.
Underage criminals are not identified, right? And they wipe out the criminal record so that they can be restored. And that's and so it becomes an opportunity to use young people who are not in control and can't get out. Right. It's a very nasty system. It's dehumanizing, but they keep using that cover of compassion, and that's where you have to have discernment.
Yeah, very good. Well, we're going to run out of time. We're going to extend it just a little bit if our producer will let us. Let's talk about one more topic. And that is the drug crisis, and over in Venezuela we've got. I wouldn't be riding. We've had boats our whole life. Our family loved boats and go boating all the time. But I wouldn't be boating over there on the ocean over there in Venezuela. I wouldn't do it if I was a fisherman. I wouldn't do it if I just wanted to go on a leisure boat ride. I wouldn't do it if I'm smuggling drugs, because it looks like it's a pretty dangerous occupation right now. So what do you all think about the drug crisis? I mean, right now, opiate deaths and fentanyl and all the things that's going on in this country. It's not new. It's been going on for years. Drug addiction is a serious problem. It seems to continue to grow, and we're now killing more people every year with drugs than we are with guns. Can you believe that? That
Yes.
we have a lot of deaths with guns, but we actually have more deaths with drugs.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
what do you think, Chandler?
Well, there's multiple reasons for that. We can attack it from two angles. There's the illegal drugs that are causing problems, and there are the legal drugs that are causing problems. And the root cause of both of those problems is insane greed. So on the and we're very grateful in that our border is shut down. We're trying to take immigration and deportation seriously, but a lot of this, all of this drug traffic, you can talk to law enforcement, you can talk to people, everyone from your county sheriff's office in Greene County to the guys that work at the DEA and at ICE. They'll tell you that your fentanyl, it's coming up from Mexico. Your drugs are coming up from Mexico. That is where all of this stuff is coming. So, letting the border be open the way that it was, as long as it was, directly led to the illegal drug situation that we have in the United States of America is 100% cartel and foreign entity driven, whether Chinese gangs or Mexican gangs. That's something I didn't even know we had, Lynn. We have Chinese drug gangs. Things have gotten so bad in this country. And then on the legal side of things, you have pharmaceutical companies getting cover from the government from everything from the Sackler family and opioids back in the day to the pharmaceutical companies that are getting covered for all the vaccine debacle that we've all been living through for the past 4 years. I mean, did it not just come out on X, on Twitter? Alex Berenson, I believe, is the journalist that broke this, that a child actually died in a Moderna test facility, and they covered it up and act like as part of the clinical, okay, well, it's as safe as we can get. Let's see if the kids get fevers or something like that. A child died in the clinical trials, and they covered it up. So it's just about law and order. It's about law and order, punishing the wrongdoer, punishing the wrongdoer. I think that an argument could be made that, airstriking some pharmaceutical companies in America might be, I don't know, not the worst thing in the world. But I think that the way that you deal with this is you drop bombs on the cartels and you drop massive prison sentences on the irresponsible pharmaceutical companies that lie.
Very good. So, Dr. Mary?
Yeah, well, addressing both of those, the Chinese involvement in the drugs coming up from South America has a long history, beginning with the anger of the Chinese against the British for the Opium Wars. And there is a kind of hatred there for not just the British, but Anglos. And there is a manual. I can't remember the title of it, but there is a manual that was released, written by Chinese military people. This is a war, a deliberate war tactic to kill people without bullets. And what they've been doing is in South America, the Chinese export the elements of fentanyl to South American countries. It's assembled there, and then the fentanyl is transported up through our borders. So I just want to explain this is a big system. It's been going on for a long time, and the history of it goes way back. As far as pharmaceutical companies go, they are the number one contributors to presidential campaigns.
Yeah.
Okay, they want to control the policies coming out of Washington, D.C. Fauci was basically an agent for them when they removed all liability from pharmaceutical companies. And because the liability was gone, they didn't feel the responsibility to do the testing for safety on a lot of these. And as far as Moderna is concerned, if I'm correct, Bill Gates was a big shareholder of Moderna, and he's he's been a huge advocate of what I call injections. He wanted to call vaccines, and the mRNA got reclassified as
Therapeutic,
a vaccine.
experimental gene therapies. This is true. We can't
Yeah,
use their terminology.
and Gates was an investor in that. So these are elitists that are using pharmaceuticals and the cover of medicine, which was always considered to be to edify and to create health or to protect health, and it's actually been the opposite. But they're protected by the fact that the government will not hold them responsible, and that's got to change. So anyhow, that's why, and that whole Oak Chandler, who was the family in with the opioid
Oh, the Sacklers. That's the famous
Sacklers.
one.
Yeah, they also got protection from the World Health Organization, saying that stuff was as safe as aspirin. I mean, I've seen the documents
Literally
where
true.
they said that, and all it did was promote this, not just addiction but death.
Right.
And that's why the Sadler family is now got to settle a lawsuit by giving up billions of dollars.
Yeah, they are. They are doing that. Well, hey, I tell you what, we have run out of time, but I'm going to spend 5 minutes talking about our sponsors. We have about 5 or 6 topics left. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, but we've got great topics that will start us with another show about this. And so
It was great
we
to
got
be with you guys.
we got some, we'll have you back on. We're going to have, and hopefully we can have you here and we won't have some of the technical difficulties, but we've worked through them. And I appreciate everyone. I hope everyone could hear everything that we're doing. Our 2 sponsors today, I hope you take a pencil and paper. Don't close your mind right now. Here's 2 things that you need to know. If you live anywhere around Missouri, our first sponsor I want to talk about is Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. They sell cars to people in 8 different states, but primarily in Missouri, Southwest Missouri. But people from other states travel to Springfield, Missouri, Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. They've been our sponsors for many, many years with my radio show, as well as the 5 years that we've been doing this almost. They sell Nissans, Kias. They sell new cars on one side of South Campbell in Springfield, Missouri, and they sell used cars on the other side of the street on South Campbell. I just got through buying a 2025 Kia SUV Sorento, and I actually absolutely love it. I love it just as much as my $80,000 Grand Cherokee Summit, top of the line. I bought 2 of them. The last 2 times I bought from the Youngblood Motor Group, same owner now with Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. So I highly recommend them. Call them, 417-882-3838. 417-882-3838. If you are thinking about buying a car, contact me. My email, Lynn, Lynn Morris, Morris, 2012 at gmail.com. I will make sure that you talk to the top salesperson in Springfield Nissan, Springfield Kia. I will make sure that you get the same kind of deals that I get, because I want to make sure that we take care of our listeners. I highly, highly recommend them. I always buy my cars from these guys, and I usually buy cars with a few thousand miles on them. They can find you a car with 4,000, 8,000 miles on them and stuff like that. So there's ways to save money. You can do that. And that other sponsor we have is Brad Pistow, certified fiduciary financial planner located in Ozark, Missouri. His phone number, very important, 417-581-9222. 417-581-9222. When you call that number, you're going to get Lisa, and they can send you one of his 2 best-selling books on Amazon on retirement plannings. Safe Money Matters is his first book, Bulletproof. You can get both of them. They will send you free information. He never charges for a consultation, and you're going, well, I live in the other 49 states. Well, that's okay. He's licensed in 22 states. So he's got you covered in a lot of different states. But not only that, he has associates, people that he knows that he is just like him, that he can recommend in all 50 states. He travels the country speaking. He writes the Wall Street Journal. He contributes to USA Today business and financial section. He's all over the area. He's an extremely busy guy, Christian man with a Christian background, went to seminary school. You can trust him. He has saved me money. He has made me money. And I don't worry about my retirement planning because I'm going to run out of life long before I run out of money. Stick with him. Call him, 417-581-9222. All right, so that's our show today. Sorry that we ran over a little bit, but very important show today. Chandler, great job today. What's your title?
He's gone.
Okay. Well, we know that he's high up in the state politics, and so we wanted to get his title, but we'll get it next time. And Dr. Mary, I'm glad you're back. I think we had a great show today. We've got several great shows lined up, so we want you to be sure and tune in. Honestly, I think the shows that we got lined up for the next 3 or 4 weeks are just going to be outstanding shows. And we hope that you've learned something today and made you think about how can we be a better country? How can we be a better American? How can we be happier? How can we be more successful? That's what we all want. I want that for everybody. I know that everybody in Acts Ministry wants that too. We want that for you. And we hope that you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. We'll see.